Thank you, Paige. We are so excited to be here. We've looked long and hard for this opportunity and just feel like we are home. We're so excited to be here. So hopefully something that I can say today will help you to get to the next level. I'm going to share screen here for just a moment. There we go. Okay, housekeeping over. Let's get down to business. So overcoming fear is something that you may not have even considered. But my goal today is to help you live your best life despite your brain, because your brain, like Paige said earlier, is really the cause of your fear. Fear is all in our head. It's taught, it's learned. We actually tested this theory on our fourth child. I was learning a lot about fear at that point and studying the brain, and decided to do a little test on her, and bless her heart, we taught her that bugs were not to be feared. They were to be respected, and that you shouldn't touch some of them. But she's not afraid of anything. So even from the time that she was 4 and 5, she was the one my older kids would call to kill the spider or the scorpion or anything that happened to be. We live in Arizona, and so we get our fair share. But literally, we've tested this and it works. And you'll hear my stories kind of weave through this today. We've tested it. This is tried and true. It's not something that I'm just throwing at you. This will help you if you'll pay attention. So our brain is programmed for survival. It's not programmed for your moving forward. It's moved to keep you safe, to avoid danger, to avoid anything that might seem hard or different or uncomfortable. Your brain wants to just keep you in a nice little bubble and keep everything status quo and keep you protected. Well, let's face it, we don't live in the world of tigers and saber-tooth crazy animals trying to eat us as we come out of our caves. We live in a world where chances are if you pick up the phone or walk out of the house, you're not going to get attacked. And yet fear has come down through generations in our DNA. It's just part of that brain survival mechanism to keep us safe. So it wants to avoid anything that is unnecessary to sustain life. Pretty much that means that your brain's working against you. So we're going to teach you today how to overcome that. So I've had the opportunity twice now in my life to speak back to back with Mel Robbins. One time she spoke first and then I spoke, and one time she spoke and then I spoke. But we have a little mutual gentle relationship, and she's really fun to speak with because she gets this. She teaches on the fact that we have a very small window to act when we have a thought come into our mind. So you might think, oh, I need to call Jen. And as soon as that thought comes into your mind, your brain is going to go to work trying to figure out how to keep you on the couch. It's going to try and figure out how to keep you comfortable. So you have what she says 5 seconds to act before your brain will kill that idea. Your brain's going to come in and tell you, oh, I can call her later. She's probably busy. She wouldn't want this. She's making too much money. She wouldn't possibly need to know what I know. Oh, I'm scared to talk to her. She's been too successful. Whatever, your brain's going to fill your head with nonsense and talk you out of getting off the couch and making that phone call. Your brain is like the worst helicopter parent there is. It thinks it's protecting you, but all it is it's keeping you from growing. It's keeping you from expanding. So she teaches a rule of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And so as soon as you have a thought come into your mind, if you find that you don't take immediate action, start counting backward, and then it will literally take your brain into a different realm. So rather than thinking of excuses, it's now thinking of, okay, what's the next number? Because we're counting backwards. Don't count forward, count backwards so that your brain engages. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And if you haven't got off the couch by go, you better go by go or you're dead. Like, it's not going to happen. But the thought is dead. It's gone. You've officially talked yourself out of it. Well, this doesn't always work. So, see if I can, no, I don't have that ability. You're gonna have to read behind the pictures. What if it doesn't work? What if you're so paralyzed by fear that you cannot take that action? Does that sometimes happen? It sometimes happens. It sometimes happens that we can't motivate ourselves to do the thing. I remember being new and early in network marketing and feeling like my phone, and we didn't have these cute phones then. We had the big clunky ones with the handle, and you had to actually pick them up to make them turn on. But it felt like it weighed 10,000 pounds. I remember being just terrified to call people about my business. And I had to get over that. So if that's you and you're in that fear paralysis, that's what we're going to help you overcome today. We're going to help you take it to the next level. If you can't get past your brain and motivate yourself because you're stuck and you've already tried books and life coaches and podcasts and mentors, and you've set yourself goals and you've set consequences. Okay, if I call this many people today, I'm going to get an ice cream sundae. Or if I don't call this many people today, I have to do 20 extra push-ups. You know, you've set those consequences for good or bad, and it's still not getting you to take action. We're going to try and help you get over that block today, whatever it is that's blocking you. So I'm going to use two scenarios today in my teaching. So I want you to think first about a cliff jumping scenario. So here we have a group of friends that's gone to the edge of a cliff to jump into beautiful water. It's exhilarating, it's fun, they're with people they love, and these boys in the front just barrel off the edge, right? They're excited, they don't have fear, they just go. Well, this poor little girl off to the left, and actually the first scenario that came to my mind was one I'd seen with a young man, so don't think it's gender appropriate here. This happens just as much to the guys, and it's worse, I think, for the guys, because what's going to happen to her? She's sitting there, she's paralyzed, she's standing back from the edge. She's there because she wanted to be there. Nobody probably hogtied her and threw her in the car. It's possible if these are her brothers, but most likely nobody forced her to be there that day. And yet she's here on the edge of the cliff and now she can't go. And I've seen it happen with young men too. They get to the edge and they want to save face. They want to save, you know, they want to show that they're courageous and that they dare do this. They've seen people do it. They know they didn't die. They know they made it. They climbed back up. They did it again. They know it's okay. And yet the fear center of the brain is so strong, it will not let them move. So how does she get off the cliff? That's what we're going to teach today. Something that you want to do, that you have desire to do, and yet there's something so paralyzing in your life that's holding you back. So this is our next scenario. This goes back to the one that I was talking about. Sometimes it feels like the phone weighs 1,000 pounds. How do you get past it and pick up the phone? Same thing. It's the same part of your brain that's stopping you. Well, what do we think is going to happen? She has a little bit of valid fear. I mean, if she hit a rock or she hit something, that could cause some damage. So she has a little bit of valid, but here, this is the fear that we're facing. What could possibly happen? If you stop and talk to somebody on the street and you're nervous to say anything, but you do, are they likely to punch you? No. Are they going to hurt you in any way? No. At the very worst, they're going to say, I'm not interested, or don't talk to me, or maybe make some snide remark. If you call somebody, the worst thing that could happen is they might hang up on you or say something offensive. It doesn't hurt you. It's just words. It's just words, and it reflects on them of what their day is like, what they're feeling like at the moment. It doesn't reflect on you or what you were trying to offer them or the blessing you were trying to give them. It's about where they're at in their life. It has nothing to do with you. So how do we pick up the phone? Because it's not a dangerous situation. We have to override that fear center. And it's a strong thing. So there was actually a study done by the Navy, and they ran a study on a group of trainees who were trying to become Navy SEALs. And at this point in the trial, sorry, I've talked about this so many times, and I don't know, I'm feeling emotional today because I'm literally watching my son and my nephew, one is in the Air Force and one is in the Marines, walk past my window right behind my screen. And I think about what they've been through to prove their prowess and prove where they are. And sorry, I didn't realize this was going to make me emotional today. These young men, becoming Navy SEALs, they've worked their way up through the Navy. They've gone through all the basic. They've gone through all of the struggle and trial to prove their merit. And here they are at the final finish line to be able to be Navy SEALs. And in this particular test, I don't know if this happens every time, but the study that I was watching, this was their final test, and they had to go into the pool, and they have weights on their wrists behind their backs, and they go down to the bottom of the pool and they drown. They have to literally drown to pass, to become Navy SEALs. And if at any time they give the I'm finished sign, or I need help, or I'm struggling, or I can't do this, if their brain overrides and the fear center kicks in for survival and they give up, they're out of the program. And these boys all want to be there. I shouldn't call them boys, they're men. They've worked hard to be here. These men they've given everything to try and be here. They want to become Navy SEALs, and yet there's a really large portion of them that opt out because the brain is so strong, it literally forces them to call it quits. So the study is where I'm taking my information from today. They literally figured out what it takes to get past that fear center. So these boys have to drown, and then somebody comes in and gives them oxygen and resuscitates them, and then they become Navy SEALs. Could you do that? Could you get past your fear to that point? Well, that's what I wanted to know. So the first thing they found is that we have to write down our goal. I'm going to tell you right now, these 4 steps I'm about to teach you are going to feel so familiar, but there's magic in doing all 4 of them together. And that's what I want you to understand today. When you do all 4 and you do them with intensity and you do them with intention and you do them with like digging down to the 5 senses is really important. So write it down in first person. I talk to 10 people a day. I share this message with 10 people a day. Okay, I want you to put this into business sense as we're doing this. So present tense, first person, write it down on paper so that it's thought and it's writing. There's something that happens when you physically write it on paper. Typing it into your phone doesn't manifest through the same part of your brain. So write it down with a pen or pencil on a paper. Do we all have those still? Do you remember what those are? That old thing of pen and paper. Be as descriptive as you can be. I am happy and outgoing, and I love sharing this message with people. I know that what I carry is a blessing. I know that what I have is going to change their life if they're ready for it. And just how does it feel? When I share this message, I feel joyous because I know that what I've shared with them can bless them if they're ready for it. Write it down on paper. And then speak it. Find an accountability partner. Talk to your upline. Talk to your spouse. Talk to somebody who's supportive in your arena. You need to all have that person or people. And then tell it as if it's happening. I'm talking to 7 people today. I'm talking to 10 people today. I'm following up with 14 people today. Whatever it is you're going to do and talk about it, tell someone else your plans out loud. Now you're accessing your mouth and your ears. It's a double sensory again, and it's very powerful. Describe it in as much detail as you can. You can tell your spouse, I'm going to be powerful today. I'm bold, and I'm going to go talk to 10 new people. I'm going to share this message, and I'm excited about it. Speak it until you become comfortable hearing it. I'm going to go into that in a little bit more detail here in a minute. But it might feel really forced and unnatural when you first say it. Say it again. Tell somebody else. Talk about it again. Tell yourself in the mirror until you can feel comfortable saying it. The next step is to visualize it. This is really good to do as you're laying on your bed first thing in the morning before you get out of bed. Do your visualization. If you've already got out of bed, find a quiet place, find something that's uninterrupted, and really start to visualize what it is that you want to do. What does it look like? Visualize walking up to somebody. Do you bump elbows with them because we're social distancing? Do you just talk to them? Do you smile through your mask? Are you making a phone call? What does your voice sound like? Are you happy? Are you bold? Are you excited with the message that you carry? Because if your voice is shaky or apologetic, that's what they're going to feel, and they're not going to be drawn to what you have to share. So do you picture yourself talking with boldness, with courage, with belief in what we have? What does it sound like around you? Are you in a busy area? Are there noises? Are there car horns? Are there birds singing? Are there people talking? The sound of people walking? What does it sound like? You need to access as many of the senses as you can. Are you outside? Is there a breeze? Is it hot? Is it cold? What does it feel like? What's in your immediate surroundings? You might not know exactly where you're going to be, but if you know you're going to go to Target today, you can kind of imagine your surroundings. Do you smell or taste anything? We used to always smell the pretzels cooking at our Target. They had a little restaurant up at the front. We'd always smell the pretzels. What does it smell like? Do you smell the candles? What does it smell like? Do you have gum in your mouth? Can you smell the mint? The more you can access the taste, the smell, the hearing, the seeing, the more you can fully visualize, your brain won't know it's not actually happening. And then practice it. Go through the motions of doing the thing you fear. I remember picking up the phone and keeping my hand on the little button so that it wouldn't turn on and making pretend phone calls to people. And then I remember adding a step, and I would have my mentor or my spouse or a friend be the person on the other end, and we would role play and we would go through it as if it was a real call, but it wasn't. And then I'd do that enough until I could feel that it was possible, until I felt comfortable with it. And then before I even got up, I didn't go get a drink, I didn't do anything. I would literally just make the phone call, and I would do a real one. Practice it until it comes easily, or until you can at least do it without breaking into a cold sweat. So 4 ways to override the fear center: write, speak, visualize, and practice. And doing 3 of those 4 things does not override the brain. So that's why I say you've heard all these things before, but if you're not doing all 4 of them together in a package with one concentrated, focused effect that it's going to have, you're not going to be able to override the brain if the fear center is kicking in and stopping you. So I was standing on a stage one day and I was teaching this, and I was hit right between the eyes with this thought that I had not put this to the test. I had tested it on my daughter, but we basically just taught her through natural teaching as she grew up. It wasn't through these methods. And I thought, okay, how can I test this? And then it dawned on me I was afraid of heights. And I was really afraid of heights. I loved high places. I loved going to canyons and looking out over. One of my favorite things was to climb up on a cliff that was, it was kind of an outcropping of rock in Hawaii. We had to climb up on it, and you could go out on the end and you could see out over the ocean and look back on the island, and it was gorgeous. But my husband, Eric, knows me, and he knows that I get vertigo. And he didn't want me to be one of those statistics that I got so busy looking that I lost my balance and fell in. Because that wasn't a good place to fall in. The waves were crashing, there's rocks below. It's not a good scenario. So he would always hold on to my swimming suit on both sides while I would look at the ocean, just in case. So here I am on stage, and I'm stumbling as I'm teaching this because I'm thinking, I can't continue to teach this until I've tested it. So I was about 39 years old when this happened. And I remember making a decision that day that I was going to jump out of an airplane. And I started sweating on stage. As soon as I had that thought, I broke out in just a panic. And I was almost done. So I finished speaking. I got off stage and I was shaking and I was just a mess. And people are looking at me, and saying I did a great job. And I just went to my husband and kind of broke down. He's like, what's going on? And I told him, I said, I need to jump out of an airplane. And I could hardly say the words. And I spent the next 4 or 5 months probably going through this process. So I want to take you through my process. So I started writing down, on my birthday, I'm going to jump out of an airplane. I'm going to go skydiving, and it's going to be amazing. And I had to force myself to write the words. And I wrote about what I would see, which was the land far below, and the mountains far below, and the edge of the plane, and my feet, and looking down to space. And I wrote about everything I thought I would see. And then I would tell people about it. And I literally would get that panic attack for probably the first month. Every time I would talk about it, I would break out in a panic. And I would visualize it, and I would do it before I get ready for the day because it would make me break out in the sweat again. It just was making me terrified that I was going to go do this. But I called the place, I set up the appointment, and I committed, and I told everybody who would listen that I was going to jump out of a plane on my 40th birthday. And it's still, to this day, I can remember what it felt like. It was terrifying. And then one day I started practicing it, and I remember closing my eyes and standing there really still and picturing the edge of the airplane and the ground and everything that I thought I was going to be going through. And this is making me panic just thinking about it. I remember going through that. And then after I got that to where I was comfortable, then I got a little step stool, and it was just a 2-step stool. And I stood on the bottom step, which was only 4 inches off the ground maybe. But I stood on that step, and then I would take the step off, and it felt like I was going into 13,000 feet. Even though it was only 4 inches, it was terrifying for the first few weeks. But pretty soon that got comfortable, and I could do that. And I could stand there, and I had my eyes closed, and I wasn't stepping off a step, I was stepping off an airplane, and I was visualizing. And I remember laughing out loud one day because I was visualizing and I passed a bird. I visualized myself falling through the air and I passed a bird, and that made me laugh. But you want to get that kind of visualization where you can feel the air, you can feel the rush, you can hear the wind in your ears, you can hear the drone of the plane getting fainter as you get away from it. You just feel the air and you watch the ground coming up closer. Well, I got to the point where I could step off the top of the stool, and it was probably about 10, 11 inches down. And it was a good drop to where when your eyes are closed and you jump and you just step and fall forward, it took a little while to hit the ground. And that was my best test. And eventually I got comfortable with that. And I remember the day that I got to the airfield, and we went there, and all the way there, my husband has a really sick sense of humor sometimes, and he's playing death and dying songs the whole way to the airport. He's finding every song. He'd made a playlist of songs that talk about, this many ways to die, and I mean all this stuff, that were just funny songs. And he'd play one after another, and he's like, "Are you scared yet? Are you scared yet?" And I'm like, No, I'm excited. And we got there, and then he told the people at the airport what we were doing, and they did the same thing. They tried everything in their power to make me afraid. In fact, we're flying up in this little rickety airplane, and it's got duct tape on the walls. And the guy that's my tandem that I'm going to be attached to, that's taking me down safely, starts peeling off the duct tape and sticking his fingers through the holes in the airplane. And he's like, "Are you scared yet?" I'm like, "No, but I think you're an idiot. I'm not sure why I'm putting my life attached to yours." But it was so fun to get up there and sit on the edge of the plane, and I still wasn't afraid. I was excited. That's not me. I can't find any pictures. I don't think we paid for pictures that day. I think he wasn't sure I'd even go through with it. So he didn't buy that package. But what I realized is you don't see the ground because your head is up. If you put your head down, you'll spin. And so your head is up, and all you see is beautiful sky and maybe some clouds. And it just feels like flying. And it's the most amazing thing. When I hit the ground, I bought another one immediately. And at that point, I knew how to overcome fear. And I knew that what I was teaching worked, because if I can do that, you can pick up the phone. You can talk to people. You can get out of your comfort zone. You can break through your introvert tendencies. You're not an introvert. People are not introvert or extrovert. They've just learned different skill sets. So you can do this. So do those 4 steps and then conquer the thing that you've been fearing. The only difference between fear and excitement in your body, if you think about this, when you're nervous or you're excited, you get those little butterflies and the jittery in your stomach. The feeling is very similar. It's your brain that tells you whether it's good or bad. It's your brain that tells you. Some people feel excited to get on a roller coaster, and other people are terrified to get on a roller coaster. It's the same feeling. It's just their brain interpreting what that ride is going to mean for them. So decide to be excited about the things that you've feared in the past. When you start to feel that nervous panic attack well up, if you've done those 4 things, just turn it away and tell yourself, I'm excited to talk to this person. I'm excited to build this business. I'm excited to go and share this message with people. Whatever it is that's holding you back, get excited about it. Opportunity doesn't come when we're ready for it. It doesn't come when we're coached and prepped and polished and everything's in alignment to go build. We have to do the personal work along the way. We have to be taking the steps to overcome the fear. If there's things that you don't know, learn them. Talk to a mentor that's done it and succeeded in that area. There's several on this call that are very qualified to teach you the steps. There's books, there's podcasts, there's so much at your fingertips that we never had 25 years ago when we were starting. We had to read books. Today, I can throw a podcast on while I'm doing the laundry or doing the dishes or driving and running errands. And I listen to podcasts all the time because I love just filling my well. When you fill your well, when you're given opportunity to speak, then it can just come out. But you have to fill the well. This is a personal growth journey. Opportunity can alter the course of our lives, and it can alter it for generations. If we build this right, this is something your children and grandchildren are going to be able to be blessed by. Opportunity comes down to who you know and when, which puts you in this place right now because you knew the right person to hear about this early. But the third part is what you choose to do with it when you're offered that chance. I know people that have been second and third in companies like this and are broke today because they didn't do anything with it. They heard about it early from the person who was starting the company, usually because they're that early. And it was just their neighbor building something in their garage, and they didn't take it seriously, and they didn't engage. They didn't do anything. And now we look at those companies, and one of them's $1 billion company. One of them's $1 billion company. If that person had engaged and built, that money would be passed down to my children. It would have been passed down to my husband. It would have changed their life as they're in their older age. They would have had enough money to travel, to go and do the things that they want to do and have care go with them if they need it. They're getting into age where it's harder for them to travel, but if you have enough money, you can hire an assistant to help you get where you need to go. You can hire someone to push you around in a chair if you can't walk the distance. You can hire people to help you live life, but it all takes money. So we have an opportunity right now to set up our families and be able to put ourselves in a position where we can change generations, we can change our community, we can change the world. So don't wait on this, don't sit back on it, don't be ruled by your fear. Life is all about choices, and just remember, your brain is working against you, and whether you choose to do something or you choose not to do something, choosing to do nothing, that inaction is exactly what your brain wants you to do, and it will not get you where you want to go. So now you know, and I'm excited for you to be able to go take the steps and build your business, and I'm going to call this a wrap. Thank you so much for having me on today.